some more? Hey, Dad. Oh. Oh, Dub. For now. Got down to 2 ounces.
So we're 100 days from the time we started high density grazing, and on this 100th day we return to where we started. So if you look back at the first video I made, which I think was 9 videos in 100 days, 1 every 10 days. Sure, that's pretty good. Zip that up for you. 100 days we were here and we grazed it down to nothing. Grazed it down to the ground and fed hay on top of it. And now we've taken exactly 100 days to get all the way around the farm. Up there, back down and around. And this is our first day, March 30th, of grazing the spring flush. It's a little early this year. We've had a mild winter, but I said we would see what it looked like when we came back to it after high density grazing. And here on 100 days later, after grazing it down to nothing, we've got grass that is, that's a foot tall, maybe 10 inches or so. This is the best stuff. But there's a lot of it. All this poop that they pooped. And the hay that we put down, which gave some residual here on the ground, is creating what appears to be a massive early grow back of all of this grass. For March 30th to have green grass that's in some places a foot tall, but I'd say on average, I don't know, on average it's a 6 inches. I don't know. 6 inches, sure, that's always a good estimate. So we just turned the flurd into this incredibly lush looking late March pasture. There's still some residual of the stockpile that they didn't graze off completely here, so they're still gonna get some dry matter in with this green flush of grass, because again, the green, if it was just all pure green early season grass, that's a massive amount of energy that's going to go right through them and create some diarrhea and things like that. So we're trying to avoid that, but it's kind of hard in the spring. They're going to be grazing just the tips, what we call just the candy section of the grass, just that top third, taking a bite and moving on. So we've had really tight paddocks up to this point, and now today they're in heaven because they're starting some of their, well, really the biggest paddocks we'll ever give them this spring. We just went around the farm again in 100 days, and now we're going to try to do it in about 21 to try to keep up with this grass, because the grass is going to start growing really fast, and we want to keep it in a vegetative state, which is where it's most palatable for the animals. It has the best nutritional value for them. They gain the most from it, kind of at the peak vegetative state of the grass's life. Once it starts to mature and starts to go to seed, the nutritional value of the grass sharply declines, and then they don't do as well. They don't put on weight as quickly. So our whole goal for this spring and into the summer is to try to keep up with the grass as fast as it's growing. Kind of rule of thumb is the faster the grass is growing, the faster we're going to move the animals, meaning bigger paddocks still on a daily move to now make it around the farm in just 3 weeks instead of 4 months. And they should be loving it. This is how, one, you put on good quality grass fat on the animals, and two, the second time and third time we come around in the summer, we're trying to, again, keep those seed heads off the grass, keep up with it, keep it growing back. Soft, palatable, and vegetative. I heard a good thing the other day to see how vegetative, actually it was in a book, but if you grab your grass and yank up without pulling it out of the ground, let it slide through your hand, if it feels soft and doesn't bother your hand, it's good and palatable. If it feels like it's going to paper cut your hand, it's overly mature. There's several different ways to handle that. You can either mow it down or make hay out of it or do whatever. But at that point, it's better to get it cut to start growing it again so the cows, the animals, have a better nutritional value, forage to eat. You don't want to cut it right in front of them, like tomorrow they're going to be here. And if this grass were too mature, I wouldn't want to come cut this right in front of them, because then they don't have anything to eat. So that's where it takes careful management and planning to get far enough ahead of them. And then you're banking on rain and forecasts and things like that, but get far enough ahead of them to cut. So by the time they get to it in, say, 2 or 3 weeks, it's right at that grown back point where they're going to crush it and it's going to pack the weight on them. It's a constant game of trying to get to the grass at the right time. Another thing to look at to make sure you're not coming back to the grass too early is to make sure when you come back, the grass has put a tip back on. If you get to a paddock that you've grazed maybe just a few weeks ago and the grass still has the flat top from the bites that have been taken from it previously, it is not ready to be grazed again, and you're going to do significant damage to the roots of the grass by coming back too early. So once it puts that tip back on and it's back to growing, that means I'll skip all the scientific jargon, mostly because I don't remember what it's called, but basically the roots have not recovered fully from the last grazing, and if you graze them again, then you're going to stunt the growth of your grass and give weeds the advantage over the grass. So it's playing the constant game of getting back to it early enough before it gets overly mature, but not too late, not too early, where you graze it before it's ready. If you can keep it in that sweet spot, the animals can put on a lot of weight. You're going to maximize their weight potential, their weight gain, and the productivity of the forage itself. You're going to encourage the proper species of grass to grow. You're not going to give weeds the advantage. It's a beautiful cycle when it's working properly. And I don't think I've ever done it properly. We have on accident a few times, but not knowingly. So now, through lots of, experience now and reading and watching things, I feel more in a position to try to do the right thing this year. And I'm excited to see how these animals respond. I've got a couple cows that are getting ready to have calves, which is exciting. Got 3 of them that should be calving here in the next week or 2 or 3. All the sheep have now delivered their lambs. One, we had triplets the other day, which is not very normal for Katahdin sheep. Oh, look, here's a little one sleeping. I'll sneak up on him. The lambs are so cute. I know he's sleeping. I just put a band on him We're banding the male animals, the ram lambs. So that means putting a small little rubber band around their testicles. They'll fall off in a couple weeks. And same thing we do with the cows. You're turning a bull into a steer. You're turning a lamb into a wither. And stops them from breeding back to their parents and stuff. So I know he's not looking happy, but he's fine. He's just getting used to it. I know you don't love that, do you? You're still cute as can be. He'll get used to it probably in the next few hours. And then you'll never know they have it on them. But it's the way we have, you got to do that to control the genetics, and we're not getting some weird breeding things going on, controlling the timing of the breeding by just having one breeding animal in here, which is that ram up there in the top left. Anyway, March 30th, 100 days into the move, the high density, and now we're on a sprint. Big paddocks, returning to where we've deposited all this poop throughout the winter, and reaping the benefits of regrowth. This is an exciting time of year. Baby animals and fresh grass.
Just move it my way. Oh. Gotta get your mouth bigger. Look up. Look up, Dad.